Hello and welcome to our vlog on Harper's To Kill a Mockingbird.
Today we'll be covering some basic historical context and plot, as well as diving into a key theme explored in the novel and its relevance today.
So let's not waste any time and go back in time as we delve into the historical context surrounding the novel.
First fun fact: Harper Lee almost titled the book Atticus. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee was set in the 1930s, a time when black people were greatly discriminated against.
The story may be set in the 1930s, but it was only published in the 1960s, which was around 6 years after the famous Brown v. Board of Education court case in Topeka, Kansas. The case proved the segregation that occurred in public school, which caused the start of desegregation. However, there was still discrimination against black people, but on a much smaller scale.
Some major events that occurred in the 1960s were the Vietnam War, the assassination of JFK, the Cuban Missile Crisis, and the landing of the first man on the moon.
During the 1960s, the most relevant event to the novel is the various civil rights protests that took place. This is due to the fact that many aspects of the novel focuses on the mistreatment of colored people and their involvement in society.
Harper Lee possibly wrote the book in order to expose the way blacks were treated and the severe racism and violence they had to endure in the South.
The novel shows all the terrible criminality carried out by many towards the black in the South. By doing this, the story sheds light on the many atrocities that took place in the South involving mass racism.
Another reason for Lee writing To Kill a Mockingbird could be to deliver the message of the importance of innocence of children and how easily that can be lost and never regained.
The novel also shows how just about anyone can become corrupt and how easy it is to lose yourself, both young and old people.
The novel acts as a learning guide for people in the US especially, but the rest of the world too, educating both black and white about what goes on in everyday society regarding blacks, whites and children.
As well as a warning, if American societies in particular do not change the way they live, leaving all the hate and violence behind, then societies will continue to worsen and create unsafe environments for all.
The story also had many references and allusions to Harper Lee's own family and the time she was growing up.
Fun fact number 2, Harper Lee would spend 6 to 12 hours a day writing one page.
Just a quick disclaimer. The characters are not to scale, not even close to scale, but just as we go into the plot overview, just keep that in mind. Here we are.
Set in Macomb, Alabama, a fictional town during the Great Depression, centered around the unusually smart Jean Louise, otherwise known as Scout Finch, her brother Jeremy Atticus, otherwise known as Jem Finch, and her widowed father Atticus Finch, a lawyer who is popular and highly respected within their town, and encourages his kids to climb into other people's skin and walk around in it, to promote empathy. Atticus tells them that it is a sin to kill a mockingbird, suggesting that the birds themselves are innocent and free of harm. Tom Robinson, a black resident in the town, is wrongfully accused of raping a white woman, Mayella Yule, to which Atticus agrees to defend him in court, despite the bad stigma. At one point, a mob intends on killing the man without a trial, but Atticus stands between them, blocking his cell, before Scout unknowingly disperses the situation. Despite Atticus presenting a plausible defense that it was in fact Mayella's father, Bob Yule, Tom is still convicted and is killed whilst attempting to escape from custody. Another character, Mr. Underwood, compares this to the senseless slaughter of songbirds. Meanwhile, the kids play out their own mini-drama as they are intrigued by Arthur, otherwise known as Boo Radley, a reclusive legend in their town. Their fascination and preconceived ideas, passed on through elders, lure the kids to trespass onto the Radleys' property. Atticus disapproves and encourages a more sensitive attitude. Boo's presence is increasingly felt through a series of kind-hearted acts. On the way back from a school production, Bob Yule attacks Jem and Scout, but are saved by Mr. Boo Radley, who kills the man. The sheriff publishes that he fell on his own knife, sparing Boo from the undesired attention. Scout contributes that otherwise it would be sort of like shooting a mockingbird. And that is an incredibly brief plot overview.
Fun fact Fact number 3. The original draft of To Kill a Mockingbird was later published as a sequel entitled Ghost at a Watchman. Why do we even need English?
I don't know, I quite liked it. I mean, I cried 3 times in that song. Very nice.
Yeah, but like novels. Why do we need to analyse novels?
I don't know, it's so stupid, like they're just so long.
Definitely not doing literature.
Nah, definitely not.
How's the theme of race included in To Kill a Mockingbird? What? Well,
Tanya?
To Kill a Mockingbird is not a racist book. It is merely making a comment on the racial segregation occurring at the time through different stereotypes and racial norms throughout the novel.
Racism is prejudice, discrimination, or hatred directed at someone because of their ethnicity, colour, or national origin.
Looks like someone didn't learn to analyse books,
Tanya. Oh.
Yeah. Okay, got it. Well, Tanya, racism isn't exactly challenged as much
as it is supported.
But that doesn't make it a racist book. Here's why many think it is.
Black people couldn't mingle with white people, and children had to attend separate schools, and adults and children attended separate churches.
Supported.
Yeah.
Adults socialised where they wouldn't be disturbing or noticed by the whites.
Supported. It was considered immoral to socialize or live in the same parts of town, so black people had to live on the outskirts of the town.
Supported. They chose not to know about each other, and by doing this, began to make up false stories about the other race.
Supported. Black resident Tom Robinson was arrested, although he wasn't guilty of the rape of Mayela Yule, and the whole town turned against him.
Supported. Despite being a faithful member of the family, Calpurnia slept on a folding cot in the kitchen.
Supported. Atticus stands up and defends Tom Robinson, even though the entire town tells him not to. Challenged.
And Calpurnia becomes a mother figure to Scout and Jem.
Challenge.
It's not a racist book?
No.
But why is it relevant?
Well, here's why. Fun fact number 4. Atticus was based off of Harper Lee's own father, and Macon was based off of the town she lived in.
Well, younger selves, here's the tea. The book itself deals with many sensitive topics such as race, the idea of being a hero, courage, dealing with provocation, and kindness.
To Kill a Mockingbird is still very much relevant to our society today.
And it's because of the growing resurgence of racism and hate around the world that people need to become aware of all the lessons Lee provides us with throughout her novels.
Recently, at Columbia University, a black professor found a noose tied to his door.
Lee wrote the novel to stop the spread to spread knowledge of racism in the South and the world in an attempt to stop the very things that are still occurring today.
Racism will continue to grow if we don't do something about it, and this book is a great place to start.
By getting the next generation to read and understand the book and all the messages it's sending, maybe we can put a stop to Mangum's disease before it spreads throughout the whole world. Tea.
Not only does To Kill a Mockingbird enforce what is wrong in society, but it tells us what we need more of.
Lee shows us that everyone can be a hero. The most mysterious and unappealing character in the book turns out to actually be a hero for the kids.
Boo Radley saves the children from Bob Yule's drunken attack.
Although it's strongly believed by many that Boo was a bad man, he is actually just an ordinary man trying to love his life the way he wants. In reality, he's a good person with a kind heart. So Lee is also teaching us not to believe everything you hear and not to judge a book by its cover.
No one in the town ever wanted to give Boo a chance and wrote him off as a weirdo and someone who was dangerous, when in reality he was just as much a hero as Atticus.
Harper Lee teaches her readers what it truly means to be courageous.
Atticus tells his kids that real courage is when you know you've been licked before you begin, but you begin anyway and see it through no matter what. Obviously, Lee believes that this is something all children should learn, and so do we.
Tom Robinson, a coloured man who was wrongfully accused and convicted of raping a white woman, is a representation of the injustice dealt out through racial segregation.
Atticus took on the case despite the hatred he and his family received from friends, neighbours, and even extended family members, all whilst knowing he was licked from the beginning.
He knew that he would never be able to look at himself the same if he did do what was thought right by the citizens of Mako.
Atticus is the perfect example of how Lee portrays courage. In modern day society, when things get tough, we make ourselves believe that there is no way we could ever succeed.
Because of this, it's become a societal norm to be walked all over and not stand up for the things we believe in.
What Lee is trying to instill in her readers is that true courage comes from within, and that we should be challenging the insurmountable things by standing our ground, no matter what.
T. You just hold your head high and keep those fists down. No matter what anyone says to you, don't let them get your goat. Try fighting with your head for a change. As humans, we often let our egos gain control of us and find it facile to get provoked.
The narrator main character, Scout, was born far more fiery than her older brother Jem and her father Atticus Finch.
This is particularly seen when Atticus begins to be called derogatory names such as nigger lover after taking up black resident Tom Robinson's case.
This rapidly provoked Scout, leading her to beat up her classmates.
Harper Lee includes a scene of Atticus disciplining Scout in order to same line. Okay. Harper Lee includes a scene of Atticus disciplining Scout in order to further discipline an entire population.
To Atticus, the second you lose your temper, you've lost the battle.
Harper Lee instead suggests that you should practice using your head rather than your fists when you begin to feel provoked.
If everyone followed Lee's instructions on how to stay calm in a situation, then maybe all those heated fights we see on social media will no longer be something we accept as okay and normal.
Many people may wonder why the book is actually called To Kill a Mockingbird, and then, well, here's the tea.
Atticus tells his children to remember it's a sin to kill a mockingbird. This leaves Scout quite confused, but is later reinforced by Miss Morty.
She says, mockingbirds don't do one thing but make music for us to enjoy. They don't eat up people's gardens, don't nest in corn cribs, they don't do one thing but sing their hearts out for us. That's why it's a sin to kill a mockingbird.
Throughout the novel, the mockingbird becomes a symbol of innocence.
Tom Robinson and the elusive Mr. Boo Radley, who had both been wrongly condemned for simply being themselves and harming no one.
They are the mockingbirds in the book. They didn't do harm to anyone and lived a normal life within the restraints of Makom's cruel society.
When Mako needed someone to blame, they blamed them. Not because they ever did anything wrong, but simply because they were different.
Lee's message here is to be kind to one another and accept each other for who we are. Perhaps if we could all master this, then terrorism may not be such a constant problem in our everyday lives.
Sorry. We forgot to film an outro, but here we are now.
Yep, you get a little quick version.
Thank you so much for watching, and please give us
good grades. Yep. No.
No, that's true.
You just stick the little mockingbird in force. Yeah, okay. We're just gonna do that again. And we're just gonna cut out the in us.
Well, yeah.
Right?
Well, this is really hard. Hang on. I'm starting to panic. Now there's a camera on.
Well.
Tom Robinson, a coloured man.